Nothing that Ron DeSantis has passed in the state of Florida, signed into law in the state of Florida, bars the teaching of American history. On the contrary, it preserves the teaching of American history by preventing the inculcation of lies into the curriculum. Lies like, if you are black, you are inherently victimized in the United States, and if you are white, you are inherently privileged in the United States of America, and that all systems of power in the United States are created for the explicit promotion of white people. There is no disagreement in the United States about the evils of American history when it comes to racism and white supremacy. There's no disagreement about that. The only disagreement is that you guys all say that the white supremacy is still there, lurking underneath America's surface, and that all of America's key institutions, from capitalism to the meritocracy, have been infused by that evil racism.
Yeah, Ben, all of our country's institutions have been shaped and are infused with racism and white supremacy. But of course, you would never say that because that's not what you or any of the others under your employ are paid to do.
The narrative that DeSantis is pro-slavery is so childish.
In any other context, we recognize this as a tribute to the person. When it comes to slavery in particular, we've gotten to the point now where it's just you're not allowed to say anything about it at all other than it was very bad. White people did it, it was bad, and that's the end of the conversation about slavery. And if you attempt to expand it beyond that in any amount whatsoever.
In tribute to the slaves.
Right.
Then it's super duper.
Also to say, it was a black historian who wrote these standards.
Yes.
I mean,
just saying.
Dr. Allen, William Allen, yeah, that's correct. It's really a point of high irritation, but the media are so invested in the gaslighting at this point.
Four white guys walk into a room holding cigars, and they think they're really cute. The panel is a joke, as are the comments. It's like watching a ping pong match where they just keep hitting the same white privilege little ball, i.e. talking points, off of one another. And do you notice how no one is different? Nobody different there to offer another take or the truth. And no matter what color some historian is, the false assertion about black people, white supremacy, is just the same thing being echoed on Fox News for those eager to consume it.
We've got to tell the story from various points of view. If you've studied history at all, you know it's complicated, you know it's nuanced. You have to tell everybody's point of view and make it clear that there was a lot going on. It's not just one story, one meme. There's more to it than that.
This entire curriculum shows you that there was slave trade in the Caribbean, there was slave trade in Africa, there was slave trade in Asia, there was slave trade in Europe, and there was slave trade in South America. At the same time, there was slave trade in the U.S., and I believe that liberals would have our youngest believe that we were so evil from our inception, we were the only ones doing evil. It's not to excuse our evil, and by all means, slavery is evil. Treating people like cattle is beyond evil. It's the worst thing I could imagine, because then you have to dive into what that really means. And this curriculum, from the bullet points I read, dives into that.
Historical tap dancing, that's what we are witnessing. Whataboutism, revisionist history, manipulation of historical effects of slavery, all in order to remain oblivious to its modern day impact. And it's not just the guests or random contributors saying this garbage. It's longtime anchors of the network have also taken the same approach.
But that particular passage wasn't saying that slavery was a benefit. It was saying there was resourcefulness and people acquired skills in spite of slavery, not because of it. And then they used those when they achieved their freedom. So they did a good job. I think it's wrong to demagogue people, and I think that a guy like me, I'm fighting back against false narratives. I do not let people like Harris or the media take false narratives and run with
Governor?
it. We will stand our ground, and we will speak the truth.
I look forward to covering you on the trail when you're having this discussion. That's the most I've heard you talk about it, and you right there clarified that sentence. It's interesting. It's an important conversation to have, and I'm glad you had it here on Focus. Good to see you. Thank you.
This should be taught in every single middle school, high school in the United States. This is the best of the best created by African-American scholars in the state of Florida. And Kamala Harris is either dumb and didn't read anything about it, or she knows the truth and has decided to lie to the American people about it. I think it's disgusting. And why doesn't Kamala Harris want African Americans and white Americans to know that black Americans did learn skills despite being enslaved? Why doesn't she want them to learn that?
Do you notice how certain people who are, well, part of a certain agenda-driven institution are also so invested in defending DeSantis and this nutty curriculum? Just think about their incentives, rooted in maintaining privilege. This entire manufactured issue is designed as another vehicle to muddy the waters about white supremacy, systemic racism, racial violence. In order to continue to influence the country, we all have to coexist in today.